Really a break. So, but with that, we have a very nice segment of the program it's about to start, which is Bhagavad Gita class. And we have a very, very special speaker, our Grace Savarna Manjari Mataji. She is very well known for her beautiful devotional singing, Kirtans and bhajans, and also wonderful Vaishnava qualities. And more than that, she speaks very practical, she gives very practical Bhagavad Gita classes. So it's a really amazing Vaishnavi. Not only Prabhu and Mataji, Prabhu also, Rahul Prabhu is going to join us shortly. They both are pillar of support for our temple in many ways. So we are very fortunate to have her association today. So with that, let us welcome Savarna Manjari Mataji by loudly chanting Hare Krishna mantra one time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Savarna Manjari Mataji.
Thank you all for coming. I know this is a weekend where we expected a smaller crowd, but I think we have very interesting content today, so I'm so glad to see all of you. Let's start with Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava, Jayo Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava, Jayo Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Varadhari, Jayo Girivaradhari. Jayo Yashodanandana, Jayo Brajajanaranjana. Jayo Yashodanandana, Jayo Brajajanaranjana. Jayo Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jayo Kunja Bihari. Jayo Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jai Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Madhava, Jayo Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava, Jayo Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, I'm going to start off with when I first learned about Thanksgiving holiday in United States. I was in India, working in India, and we had an expat who was from the US, an Indian expat who had come to work in India. And he said, this weekend is Thanksgiving. And I was like, what is Thanksgiving? This was in maybe mid-90s, when the world was not as connected with the internet, and you didn't know the festivities around the world. And the way he explained to me, I felt that really you have to have a weekend for that. I mean, he didn't give me the history of the, how the pilgrims came and, they created, ultimately this feast was for the native Indians and they were thanking them for their support. He just gave me the idea that this is the day we thank, everybody who supported us. And at that time I was like, wow, you have to create a day for that, but we should be thanking all the time, right? So, of course, fast forward, we also, for the last 22 years living here, have adopted this tradition to, now specifically thank everybody, whether it is our family, friends, and of course, above all, we don't forget that we have to thank Krishna for everything he's given us. So now when I look at it, I think in hindsight, I think it's a good tradition. Because for those of us who don't remember to continuously, regularly thank, at least this is like a reminder that we want to express gratitude. So today's class is on gratefulness, how gratefulness is such an important part of our Vedic culture. And many years ago, I had heard this lecture by, he's no more, his name was Dwarkadish Prabhu. And he was a disciple of Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, and he went too early. But he had given this class on attitude of gratitude. So when Jai Subhadra Mataji reached out to me, we had some plans for this weekend, and I was like, no, this class is so important, because I remember how moved I was by this class many years ago, and I'm hoping, I pulled up his recording for this class, so I'm hoping I can narrate and be the messenger of the beautiful class that I had heard many years ago and share it with all of you. So, last few years have been very tumultuous for all of us, right? We've seen the pandemic, and we're all very grateful that we are alive here, we are healthy, and we survived the pandemic. But there was more than that. I was just looking back since 2020, we've seen pandemic, we've seen forest fires, we've seen earthquakes, we've seen racial injustice, war, and now we are seeing, the whole economic turmoil. So we all have more than enough reasons to be grateful to have survived all of this. So, Thanksgiving, it reminds me for me that we should be grateful every day, and we should be grateful for every day we've lived, every breath we've had, and every night. I have many years ago, every night I created a little prayer before I go to bed where I reflect on the day. It takes only a few minutes. You're lying down in bed, and before you close your eyes, you think about what the day was, what were some of the highlights of the day, how Krishna has protected you today also, like every day he protects us, and how thankful we should be, not just for our family and friends, but ultimately it's Krishna who's giving us this beautiful life. And every day that we can be exposed to so much danger, so much that can go wrong, and it hasn't gone wrong, we should be grateful. So gratefulness is a very important part of our Vedic culture, okay? And it's key for us to develop this attitude of gratitude and, gratefulness from within to ultimately develop our loving relationship with Krishna. So there are quite a few references in our scriptures, and I want to go through those references to reinforce how important gratefulness is. And if we can do nothing else for Krishna, we can be grateful every single day, multiple times a day, for the life that we take for granted, which could go wrong any minute, any second. Okay? So I'll start with Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Lord Chaitanya is instructing, in the Madhya Leela, Lord Chaitanya is instructing Sanatan Goswami, okay, the science of devotional service or the practice of devotional service he's instructing to Sanatan Goswami. And in text 95, the verse says, Bhakta Vatsalya Kritagya Samartha Vadanya Hena Krishna Chadi Pandita Nahi Bhaje Anya. Bhakta Vatsalya Kritagya. These are the key words in this verse. These are Bhakta Vatsalya Kritagya is the two biggest qualities, most important qualities of Krishna. So, Lord Krishna is very kind to his devotees. He's always very grateful. Now keep in mind, Lord Krishna is always very grateful and magnanimous. And he possesses all abilities, we know that. A learned man or woman who does not give up Krishna to worship, anyone else. So this is the instruction that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving to Sanatan Goswami to basically reinforce that Krishna is very grateful for everything that we as his children do to remember him and to worship him and to follow his instructions. And Krishna reciprocates, we've all heard, right? You take one step, Krishna will take 10 steps towards you. So I think all of you in this room know, but I'll just repeat for anybody who's online. Lord Chaitanya appeared 500 years ago, okay, and he was demonstrating what a pure devotee, a pure follower of Krishna, how they are performing service to Krishna. Now, he's Krishna himself, teaching us how to love and how to appreciate and how to serve Krishna. That is one of the significance of Lord Chaitanya's descent, okay? Even though he appeared only 500 years ago, very few people have the knowledge of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and why he came. That is because very few people are so blessed to learn about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his purpose, okay? So he's God in himself who took the form of a pure devotee. So anything you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita is just talking about how, of course it has a lot to do with his childhood and other things, but how as a pure devotee we should be performing our activities. That is what Lord Chaitanya has told us. So we notice that in this verse it says, a learned person does not give up Krishna for anyone else, okay? So we all came from, for those of us who grew up in India, we came from different backgrounds, and we worshipped, we had different forms of worship. My parents, when I grew up in Pune in Maharashtra, and Ganesh Chaturthi is a big festival, so there was worship of Lord Ganesh, there was worship of Durga Mata in northern India, Lord Shiva. That is all fine. Different people are going to approach Krishna in different ways, okay? But giving up Krishna for the worship of anyone else, which means Krishna is still the supreme, and we have to understand we have a choice to worship him directly or indirectly through the demigods. And everybody sitting here, we've chosen to worship Krishna directly in the form that he came 5,000 years ago as Radha and Krishna, which is his original form. And of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who revived that devotional spirit in all of us. So a learned person, it says. So, we all are through our journey. So it doesn't mean that we've come to that stage overnight. Some of us are carrying it from our previous birth. So yes, it feels like we've come to that stage overnight, but it is a journey. So because Krishna is the supreme, and our goal in this life is to not deviate from the worship of Krishna and not give up Krishna's service for anybody else, what do we start with? If somebody new comes to the temple, what do we give them? We give them the Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is where we start our spiritual journey, okay? And Bhagavad Gita is, by studying the Bhagavad Gita,
we can be convinced that as Krishna himself is the full epitome of knowledge. He's the absolute, okay? When I read the Gita, almost every chapter, every verse has a theme, but all those themes are like rivers that flow into the ocean. And all those rivers are flowing into the ocean of devotional service for us, okay? In chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 7.7 says, Matta parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. Matra parataram nanyat, which means there is no truth superior to me. So, very essential. He's the ultimate truth and the supreme. Nobody is above him from all aspects, all qualities, and nobody is superior to Krishna. So, let's think of it. God is known in different religions by different names, okay? Allah, Jehovah, Buddha, Christ, okay? All these different names are adapted in different parts of the world, but ultimately we are actually addressing Krishna, okay? Because most religions will say there's one God ultimately, okay? And that one God, based on our scriptures, is the supreme person. So if there's one, that means this one sits on the top, right? There's nobody above that one, which means this is supreme. And we know that Krishna is the supreme personality. So no matter which name you call God, I mean, Krishna has so many names. And when people do Vishnu Sahasranama, there are so many names for Krishna. Even these modifications of Allah, Jehovah, Buddha, Christ, ultimately we are addressing only Krishna. So we need to understand that. And in Sanskrit, the word for God is Bhagavan. Bhagavan means the possessor of all opulences in unlimited quantities, okay? So on this planet Earth, you may have, this is the most beautiful person on planet Earth, this is the richest person. You have those lists that come out every day, the richest, the most beautiful, all sorts of young entrepreneurs, everything. But nobody possesses all opulences in unlimited quantity, okay? Everybody's opulence has an end, okay? I still remember people used to, worship Steve Jobs for the wonders he did. And yeah, we all are beneficiaries of, the technology. But every day there are new technologies. And the biggest realization I had when Steve Jobs passed away, I was at the temple when I had heard this news, and I was like, okay, so at that time, I think they had quoted he had $7 billion. He could not take any of that with him, right? Not one of us can take our family, our wealth, or any of our material possessions with us. So why worry? I know we all have a natural tendency, human beings have a tendency to worry. But over the years, and I used to be a big worrier when my first kid was growing up, because we were always fearful something wrong will happen. And somewhere inside us, we had this whole thing that I want to control anything wrong happening to my loved ones, whether it is from from a health perspective, whether it is from a society perspective, anything you are trying to protect. So for years, I struggled with this feeling. And it kind of put me into, an anxiety mode, and I was depressed. This is about 7-8 years ago. Ultimately, after looking at the problem through every dimension, I looked at the problem, okay? And all of us have problems, right? And I said, wait a minute. And I think Krishna gave me this message, wait a minute. Can I do something about it? No. Can I control the outcome? No. Can I get into somebody's brain and tell them what to do? No. So after a lot of giving myself a lot of agony, I came to this realization that if ultimately I'm not the controller of this, the only one thing that I can control is my action in a limited form also, okay? Then why am I spending my energy, my time, this precious time of this, lifetime, I'm spending on worrying about material things? It was an inflection moment for me. And I don't know if it is good or bad, but now I'm at the other extreme. Whatever happens, I'm like, listen, I can pray that Krishna give this person intelligence, okay, give this person the wisdom, and the outcome, it can be good, it can be bad. I'm not saying all of us experience the best material outcomes in life, because this is dukhalaya shashvatam. So we are not here for enjoyment, we are here for suffering and change, right? So, two things. I've come to this conclusion. Krishna, I don't want to waste my time worrying, okay? That is the first thing you have to give up. Instead of worrying, thank the Lord, pray to the Lord so that you get the right intelligence, and if you're worrying about somebody, pray for their intelligence, okay? Then there could be other people have health issues. I've seen people go through various health issues. Yeah, we're going to all have it. Our grandparents had health issues, our parents had health issues, we have health issues, our children will have health issues. It is the reality of life. It is the reality of this human body. Birth, death, disease, old age, we cannot escape it. We have come to endure all that. So, after almost 2-3 years of being hyper attached and trying to control, my children should do this, my job should be like this, my finances should be like this, my family should be like this, I came to the realization this is a complete waste of time. And if I don't get out of this, I'm just going to torture myself, which I did for many years. And finally, now I'm at a point, everything that happens, I'm saying, okay, if this is what we have to go through, this is what we have to go through, but we cannot forget that Krishna has given us so much to be thankful for. Krishna has given us so much that we probably don't deserve. So let's focus this time. This time is very limited. Nobody sitting in this room knows if we are going to see tomorrow. Nobody. Okay, but we assume that tomorrow will come and we make plans, which is natural, which is okay. But live today as if I had to leave today, what is the most important thing I want to do for this human life, which is not material, okay? Once we get to that realization, the only thing that will come to your mind is, this is all going to happen, let me just focus on my chanting, let me focus on praying, let me focus on praying not just for myself, but everybody around me, like Prahlad Maharaj did. And hopefully, if each of us, imagine if 8 billion people did that, this would not be planet Earth then. So we got to remember, in Hindi they say, Chinta chitta saman hai. That means, Chinta is worry, and chitta is like, the dead body. So, worry has never solved any problems. Instead of worrying, start thinking of Krishna. Start thinking of positivity. That Krishna has given me so much. Let me now utilize. Krishna has given me this human body. Let me utilize this human body to remember Krishna, thank Krishna, and continue on my journey to go back to Krishna. We all should have a goal, okay, that I have whatever, 20, 30, 40 years, nobody knows, okay? We have whether 20 minutes or 20 years, we don't know. But I want to do everything in this time to remember Krishna and to thank Krishna and to develop that love for Krishna. If you're doing that, it doesn't matter if you go back in this lifetime, you will continue the journey from where you picked up. Unlike your bank balance, you start from zero when you are born again. You cannot bring that billions of dollars from your previous birth into this life, but what you can take is your devotional service, life after life. So Bhagavan is the possessor of all opulences in unlimited quantities. Nobody on earth, anybody on earth who claims to be God is an imposter. Because God is not cheap that he comes out and says, oh look, I'm God. For people who do that, warning, avoid. Okay? Avoid such people because this is not the right path. Some people have mystical qualities. They can do magic that appears like God. But that is not magic. They are also getting sick. They are also dying. God doesn't die. God doesn't get sick. So we have to remember that we have to use this intelligence to progress and not fall into the trap of imposters who claim to be God or who claim to have seen God and all of that. So in Bhagavad Gita, we find the word Purushottam. Purushottam means topmost transcendental person. So you're a person, I'm a person, okay? And in chapter 2, we learn from the beginning that we are eternally there, okay? Eternally we are personalities. We come in different bodies, in different lives, but we are eternally a soul and we eternally are a personality. So in the past you were a person and never was there a time, Krishna says, that you did not exist. We did not exist in this body or in this, what we call these clothes, but we had many different bodies and now we have this present body. So the idea is that we have always existed. So I often read that people say, hey, enjoy life to the fullest, you only live once. And I'm thinking, if you only live once, really, is that what you want to do? Just enjoy life? Don't you think you want to have a bigger purpose to life if you only live once? And you're like, okay, I'm very that goes back to the realization of being thankful. Because I could have also been one of them and said, you only live once, go enjoy life. But I'm so grateful to everybody and, of course, that Krishna created everybody around me to motivate me and give me the intelligence. This is why it is called confidential knowledge, because all of those 8 billion people do not have that knowledge. Very few people it's a privilege, so whatever is a privilege, think of it as these privilege clubs where people buy membership and go. I was looking up the other day where Donald Trump lives in Mar-a-Lago, and I was like, what is this Mar-a-Lago? They keep talking about it. So I went online and I saw, and membership and this and that, and I was like, oh, so that's what it is. Now think of this spiritual Mar-a-Lago. We are all going for membership of that. So stay on the ship, okay? Stay on the ship and we will all reach that exclusive club which very few people have the knowledge of, okay? So the idea is that we've always existed and we are going to continue to exist. So whoever thought that after this we are not going to exist, wrong, absolutely wrong. We are going to exist. We just don't know in what form, okay? So one of my Shiksha Gurus, Nirantar Prabhu, always jokes. He says, get used to yourself. You're not going anywhere because you're going to be you forever, okay? And if you don't like who you are, then work on changing yourself, okay? This is the whole process of Krishna consciousness, which is to transform ourselves, okay? Who do we want to be? We want to be that we are who we are, correct? That is the baseline. But who do we want to be? We want to be better. Better than whom? Better than what we were yesterday, okay? Better than the version that we came from last month, last week, and yesterday. And how can we become better? We can become better by reading and by chanting and by worshipping based on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. We can become better by being convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And we think that we are convinced. I often say, we think that we are convinced, but are we really convinced? Because if we were all really convinced, we would not check off just a Sunday visit to the temple. We would do more, right? So we really need to, if we have convinced ourselves, then we really need to take the right action. So this Thanksgiving, my daughter was saying, one thing I've learned from you both is your work ethic, how hard you work. And this is not because we just told them work hard. This is because they saw it. So they say actions speak louder than words. So we know the words that Krishna is supreme, Krishna is God. Okay, we are convinced that Krishna is God, but we have to take actions to not just say Krishna is God, but to make our lives according to that Krishna is God. Do all our actions focused on Krishna. So for me, sometimes reading lectures and listening to, classes, initially that was not the spark for me. So I was reading Krishna is God, and I had this knowing of Krishna is God, but that spark that has to come from within for you to actually commit to something, that spark was not coming. So what convinced me was reading Krishna book. Okay, the stories of Krishna's pastimes, convinced me that Krishna is God. And they say a learned person never gives up Krishna. So remember, we may all think that, hey, Arjuna was a very learned person. So why was he confused on the battle of Kurukshetra? Why was Arjuna confused? Yes, he was, because there are often material situations that confuse, that, waver your intelligence, okay? It doesn't mean that you don't know it, but for a few minutes, you digress from the path. But then after Arjun heard Krishna speak the Bhagavad Gita, he was 100% convinced that Krishna is God. And on the other hand, for us, because we don't have Krishna directly in the battlefield for us, but we have the Bhagavad Gita and we have our spiritual masters. So we have to follow Arjun's path because we are also in dilemma. A lot of times it is normal to be in dilemma, and when we are in dilemma, we need to go back to the places which strengthen us. And what strengthens us is pure knowledge. And that pure knowledge comes through disciplic succession. So anybody cannot have pure knowledge. You have to also gain that pure knowledge, and you gain it from somebody who has pure knowledge. Which is why we say we will learn it from our spiritual masters. We will not learn it from anybody who is speaking about God on the internet. We will not. We will learn it from our spiritual masters. So, thinking of being grateful, first and foremost, I'm grateful for the family I was born in. I could have been born in any family, right? Krishna gave us lovely families where we were born in. And my parents repeatedly asked me to chant, and then repeatedly my father asked me, go take initiation from Guru Maharaj. And we are all indebted, we are all here today because of Srila Prabhupada. So we have to be very grateful to everything he did so selflessly just for our betterment and to uplift us. So this movement of International Society of Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, this is a very diverse movement. Again, I am emphasizing, the name is International Society of Krishna Consciousness. International means it is not limited to just people who are born in India or who are born in Brahmin families. This is for everybody. And we see that people all over the world are, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had predicted, in every town and village there is chanting of Hare Krishna. So not only do we have to become Krishna's devotee, but we also have to be attracted to him, right? in order to think of someone all the time, you have to be attracted to that person, right? So Prabhupada has given us many tools in our toolkit to feel attracted towards Krishna. So what are some of the tools for us to be attracted to Krishna? So you must have heard this before also from me, but repeating that prasad. Prasad is a huge piece, and I think that's the best thing that happens in our temples is serving prasad. I was a young mother when we started going to the temple. Shreya was less than a year old. And for me, it was like, first and foremost, the prasad was so delicious. They would allow us to pack prasad and go. And I would think of all day Sunday, because the program was in the evening. So I would think of all day Sunday, yes, I don't have to cook. I'm going to the temple. I'm going to eat this great prasad. This was before any of your Uber Eats and DoorDash days when you had no choice but to cook yourself every single day. And so that was the high point of my week. Let's go to the temple so we can eat good prasad and I can pack home and bring prasad. And I still do it many times. I pack home and I take prasad. So prasad is that for a new person, prasad is that attraction that can bring people to the temple. And why is the food so tasty? We don't put onion, we don't put garlic, we don't put spicy, we don't create a lot of spicy or oily food. The prasad is so tasty because it is offered to Krishna. And I know kids may say ew, but Krishna's saliva has now gone in the food. Do not say ew. Because that Krishna's saliva is now making our prasad so tasty. So what else is in our temples to make Krishna so attractive? So for us to be attracted to Krishna, Kirtan. Kirtan is the next thing. So Kirtan is something I really enjoy, and I think it uplifts you. Every time you see Kirtan going on in the temple, I look around, everybody looks pretty happy during Kirtan. You never see somebody distressed during Kirtan because it just lifts you up. And again, Srila Prabhupada gave us this. So thank you to Srila Prabhupada who told us in the temples you should have prasad, you should have Kirtan. In fact, ISKCON is considered to be a Kirtan movement because the way people see us outside is singing, dancing, distributing books and prasad. So we are also known as a Kirtan movement. And then what else did Srila Prabhupada give us to make Krishna so attractive to us? Beautiful deities. Nowhere else in the world have I seen painstakingly beautifully decorated deities, okay, as we see in ISKCON temples. There's so much detail to the way Krishna's deities are, Radha and Krishna are dressed up, okay. In LA temple we have deities, Rukmini Dwarkadesh, and I spent 18 years in LA, so they're very close to my heart. And they used to be dressed so intricately and beautifully that you could stand there and observe for a very long time. 30, 40 minutes, you would not even realize have passed away. You're observing every detail with which the deities are decorated and beautifully dressed up. I used to wonder how long it takes for the people who are dressing up the deities to do this. And there were several of them who would do this multiple times a day. Now, imagine, especially during Janmashtami, I still remember when the midnight aarti is to start, they would switch off all the lights in the temple, okay, and just there was a light, spotlight on the deities. It was so beautiful that tears, you would feel goosebumps and tears. And that's when I would ask myself the question, if Krishna looks so beautiful to these eyes, okay, which we know cannot appreciate much, then what would Krishna look in Golok Vrindavan? It is beyond our imagination. That is the conclusion I've come to. We cannot comprehend how beautiful Krishna is, but we can observe and understand that if this is how beautiful Krishna looks to us, how beautiful Krishna is really. Every time I come to the temple, I look at the deity's clothes and I see if I'm matching the deity's clothes. Okay, this has been all my life. And the day I'm matching the deity's clothes, which happens to be today, I feel very good about it. It kind of, absolutely elevates my mood. Because I don't know what clothes the deities are wearing. And then I say, oh, I was going to wear green and I didn't wear green. I wanted to wear the same color that the deities are wearing. Because we appreciate so much all the hard work that goes into dressing up our deities that we want to get closer and closer to Krishna. I know this is silly in many ways, but it makes me happy that, yes, today my choice and Krishna's choice was the same. So we have to build that relationship, and everybody builds the relationship in different ways. Okay? So we have prasad, we have kirtan, okay, we have deities, and we have books. Books, Srila Prabhupada has said. And for the longest time I used to not read Srila Prabhupada's books, and one day somebody told me that, he worked so hard to write these books, and we are saying we don't have time to read these books? We absolutely should read these books because knowledge is very important. It is that knowledge that drives us to the path of bhakti. If we didn't know that Krishna is supreme, then we would not be worshipping Krishna, right? These books are a way to uncover Krishna so that we can not only be convinced that Krishna is supreme, but we can transform our lives in the service of Krishna. So books are meant to nourish our heart and soul. We think about nourishing our body, vitamins, exercise, all those, every day there is a new superfood, chia seeds or quinoa or something, every day there's a new superfood. But what is the food for the soul? The food for the soul is read Krishna's books and chant Krishna's name. Okay, so Prabhupada has given us so many things that can attract us to Krishna. So why are we talking about being attracted to Krishna? Because we said in order for us to think of Krishna continuously, for us to think of anybody continuously, we have to be attracted to them, right? And these are all the tools for us to be attracted to Krishna. So we should be conscious and deliberate about taking these tools for our own benefit. Taking prasad, doing kirtan, dressing up the deities, and reading Krishna's books. So we should be super, super grateful to Srila Prabhupada, who has really transformed the lives of millions of people by creating these temples and providing this infrastructure for us to be able to progress in our lives. So going back to gratefulness, there is an excerpt of Akrura, okay, in Krishna Leela, in Krishna book, where Akrura actually invites Krishna and Balaram to his house when he brings them from Vrindavan to Mathura. And finally, when Krishna and Balaram go to Akrura's house, Akrura, I'm reading this directly from Krishna book. Akrura bathed the feet of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, then poured the bath water on his head. He presented them with gifts, fine clothing, aromatic sandalwood paste, flower garlands, and excellent jewelry. After thus worshipping the two lords, he bowed his head to the floor. Akrura then began to massage Lord Krishna's feet, placing them on his lap. And with his head bowed in humility, he addressed Krishna and Balaram as follows. And we can all have that opportunity to massage Krishna's feet in our laps, so we have to stay on the Krishna ship for that. So Akrura addressed Krishna and Balaram. Akrura prayed, "My dear Lord, you are affectionate to your devotees. You are also truthful and a grateful friend. Where is that learned person who would give up give you up and surrender to someone else. You fulfill all the desires of your devotees, so much so that sometimes you even give yourself to your devotees. That is how Krishna is in his reciprocation. And still you neither increase or decrease by such activities. So when Krishna is pleased, they say not only will you give the devotees what they're looking for, but he can give himself to the devotees. So very similar to what Lord Chaitanya said, where is that learned person? Will there be a learned person who would give up that all attractive Krishna for somebody else? Akrura continues, my dear Lord, today my home has been purified by your presence. I think there's an echo somewhere, is there? Okay. My dear Lord, my home has been purified by your presence. I have become the most fortunate person in this world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is worshipable by all different kinds of demigods, pitris, kings, emperors, and other living entities, and who is the super soul of everything has come to my home. The water of his lotus feet purifies the three worlds, and now you have kindly come to my place. Who in the three worlds among factually learned people will not take shelter of your lotus feet and surrender to you? Who, knowing well that no one can be as affectionate as you are to your devotees, is foolish enough to decline to become your devotee? So through the Vedic literature, it is already declared. The prayers of Akrura are very beautiful. It almost puts a picture in front of your eyes. And even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is confirmed in chapter 5, verse 29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachiti. Suridam sarva bhutanam. That means he is going to be he's friend of everybody in this universe. Akrura continues, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, completely capable of fulfilling the desires of your devotees. You are a real friend to everyone. In spite of you giving yourself to the devotees, you are never depleted of your original potency. Your potency neither decreases nor increases in volume. So Krishna can give himself away and still Krishna is Krishna. 1 minus 1 is also 1 for Krishna, and 1 plus 1 is also 1 for Krishna. So this concept is that Krishna is in the heart of everybody. That is also a way we can be attracted to Krishna. So the more we understand this, that Krishna is in everyone's heart, we try not to discriminate. We try to be kind. And when we are not kind to people, it means that we are still learning that Krishna is in everybody's heart. Because once we are able to see Krishna in everybody's heart, we become kind-hearted and we see everybody with equal vision, sambhav, okay? Many of us are working towards it, but let's be conscious about it and try working towards it. So Akrura was sent by Kamsa to take Krishna and Balaram to Mathura so that Kamsa could kill them. So when Akrura brought them to Mathura, he invited Krishna and said, please come to my house. Krishna said, I will come later. So he went, after he killed Kamsa, he went to Akrura's house. And this way Akrura had the fortune, because Akrura knew who Krishna is, he had the fortune to serve Krishna and Balaram, be grateful to them for everything that Krishna has done, and really give himself, surrender himself fully to Krishna. Another excerpt, and this is the last one I'm going to address, is in the Gopi Gita. So in Gopi Gita, which is considered the most elevated chapter in Canto 10, there is a verse, 10:31, Vishajalapayad Vyalarakshashad Varshamarutad Vaidyutanalat Vrishamayatmajad Vishvato Bhayad Rishabhate Vayam Rakshitamuhu. So in Gopi Gita, There are many verses, and each gopi sings a different verse. So Gopi Gita is when Krishna disappeared from the rasa dance, and the gopis come on the bank of Yamuna, and they are pouring their heart out to Krishna. This verse says, Krishna, we are all always grateful to you because you have protected us so many times. From the poisonous water of Yamuna, from the serpent Kaliya, from Bakasura, from the anger of Indra, from the torrents of the rain, from the forest fire, and so many incidents. You are the greatest and the most powerful of all. It is wonderful for you to protect us from so many dangers, but we are surprised that you are neglecting us in this moment. So the gopis are like, we are so grateful to you, but you're still not appearing in front of us. Now, fast forward from this verse to Gopi Gita to our real lives. We started off with, the last few years have had so much going on. There was a pandemic, there have been forest fires, there was racial injustice, there was earthquakes, there was, now we are going through this whole layoffs and economy. So think about it. Krishna is doing the same thing to us, what he did to the gopis. He is protecting us. He has protected us from all these dangers. Okay? If we had health issues, or if we did not have a job, or if we had so many other material problems, we would be consumed by those, and we would not have time to come to the temple. But Krishna has protected us. He protects everybody. He's protected us just like he's protected the gopis. Okay? So, because Krishna is Bhakta Vatsalya, he's very, very kind to his devotees. Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, he created that umbrella for the residents of Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada explains in Jai Radha Madhava that the residents of Vrindavan simply, the word is simply, love Krishna, and that's all. Okay? So, and similarly, Krishna loves the residents of Vrindavan. It is reciprocal. So Prabhupada says that the goal of Krishna consciousness is to become one of Gopi Jana. Meaning, we have to, through our, not physically, but through the activities of our soul, through the transformation of our soul, we have to become Gopi Jana, which means residents of Vrindavan. The day we are able to build our Vrindavan around us, this is not about physically being in Vrindavan. You could be physically in Vrindavan and you're still not in Vrindavan. So the day we transform our souls to be like that of the gopis, or Gopi Jana, that day the mission of Krishna consciousness is fulfilled, that now we are ready. And what does Bhagavad Gita say? So many times, and I love this verse because it is repeated. There's only one verse that is repeated twice in the Bhagavad Gita. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijani priyosi me. So we said, right, if you love someone, if you're attracted to someone, you're always going to be thinking of that person. Okay? So that is why it is very important for us to develop that attraction to Krishna and to develop that love for Krishna. It is there. It is dormant. We need to awaken it. We need to spark it. Okay? And by doing that at the moment of death, which is very crucial, as Srila Prabhupada says, this is a lifetime in preparation. What are we preparing for? We are preparing for remembering Krishna at the moment of death. That is the final exam. Okay? If at that time we are meditating on Krishna, then it will determine where we go. If we are meditating on somebody else, it will also determine where we go. That is why we practice every day. We know practice makes perfect. We practice every day, day in and day out, so that at the time of death, we are able to remember Krishna. A practical way to test this is, if we are there yet or not, is You're driving your car and somebody rashly cuts you off. What is the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Okay? It could be anything. We're not getting into that. We're not asking. But test it out. If the first thing that comes out of your mouth at that time is Hare Krishna, then you're doing well. If the first thing that comes out of your mouth is something else, then you know you have some work to do. So, and then last verse that I want to quote from the Bhagavad Gita, which is in chapter 9, a very, very beautiful chapter, which is called the most confidential knowledge. Yat karoshi yadashnashi yajjuhoshi dadashi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. So whatever you do, this verse is saying, do it for Krishna. That's what the gopis did, right? They did everything for Krishna. And if we aspire to be like Gopi Jana, which Prabhupada said which should be our goal, should be our aspiration, then we need to think of Krishna while we are doing everything. So, what we have heard from our scriptures is that gratefulness is one of the qualities that helps us get closer to Krishna. So, always remember to think of Krishna and be grateful to Krishna. To become a devotee, we have to be convinced that Krishna is God, okay? We have to be attracted to Krishna. And when we are attracted to Krishna, we will be able to think of Krishna every minute. When we think of Krishna every minute, that is our expression of love and gratitude to Krishna. So, unfortunately, we have to practice doing that. One day, it will be spontaneous. So, it's okay if you think, why do I have to practice? Because we've forgotten so many things. When you forget, you have to practice. But one day, it will become spontaneous with this practice, and then we will become his Gopi Jana after this life. So, let us all be grateful to Krishna for all the blessings he has showered on us, right from the beginning of first giving us this human birth, giving us birth in lovely families who provided us a safe, secure environment, a spiritual environment, being married into good families, our Guru Maharaj, who gave us this knowledge, the devotee congregation, who's always there to support us in need, and how can we forget Srila Prabhupada, who gave us this movement. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Satyasar Prabhu and Jai Subhadra Mataji for being the glue of this temple, okay? For bringing people and continuously, no matter how many offenses we make, no matter how many mistakes we make, they are very patient and they are constantly encouraging us, constantly inspiring us by their own example to progress on this path. They have done something so selfless for all of us that, I offer to Satyasar Prabhu and Jai Subhadra Mataji my gratitude today, and which I should be doing more often, but thank you for everything you do. And let us remember, next Saturday is Gita Jayanti. We should all be here for the full Gita Jayanti from beginning to end, okay? Go back, chant the Mahamantra, and advance, get attracted to Krishna. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Temple of Austin ki.
Jai. Mataji, you take questions?
I will try.
Okay. Hare Krishna devotees, if anybody has any question, please raise your hand. Oh, okay. Neeraj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the class. You shared your experience, the journey from worrisome to worry-free. Now when a person gets to a worry-free situation, say, okay, I leave everything to Krishna, but at the same time it creates the impression that a person is stone-hearted, not compassionate. If you had experienced that situation, how did you deal with it? Because I feel some challenge on this front. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're right, that it can be interpreted as not being compassionate. And like everything else, there is a balance. So, yes, you have to have empathy, because they say it is very important for us to be compassionate and have empathy. So, it's not that, hey, you have a problem and I'm going to say, it's okay, leave it to Krishna. We say, we'll do whatever it is, we will support you during this problem, and but the outcome, end of the day, is with Krishna. And this is our opportunity, when we are going through problems, is our opportunity to also preach. So that is the time, if somebody in your family or friends is going through some problems, that is an opportunity to preach. So we don't just say, hey, you know what, this must be your karma, so deal with it. No. We say, yeah, this is a difficult situation, I understand. Why don't you start praying to Krishna? Why don't you start chanting one round? Why don't you do the nursing kavach? And so instead of coming across as stone-hearted, it is our opportunity to preach and give them something that is Krishna related, and sometimes that can be transforming in their life. I had one, and I don't know the full story here, if that was a transformation or not, but there was this lady when her husband was suffering from some, terminal disease, and at that time, I had brought nursing kavach from Mayapur. So I gave her one, and I said, make your husband wear this. And she said, what is it? So I said, it's a prayer box, and it's for protection. So put your prayer in it and pray to God, and it'll give your husband some protection. And she did it. And she told me, hey, I did it. He had a few good days, and ultimately his disease was terminal, so he went away. But after that, I saw she was wearing it. She's like, you told me it's a protection, so now I'll start wearing it. Maybe he didn't wear it long enough, so I'll start wearing it from now. So she was always wearing nursing kavach without even having the realization. So when somebody is in trouble, it is our human responsibility to show them empathy, to give them whatever support, because you need to give people material support also. You can't say that, sorry, too bad, I have to chant. So empathy and showing support is very important, but at the same time using that opportunity to give Krishna consciousness in some way or the other is also great, because many people, like they say, there are 4 kinds of people who come to Krishna. One is who are in distress. When you are in distress, if somebody says, try this, this will work, even if it is the weirdest solution, you will accept it and try it, right? So why not ask them to try chanting Krishna? So instead of coming across as stone-hearted, we should come across as empathetic and compassionate and try and message Krishna to them at that time.
Radha?
Thank you, Mataji, for a beautiful class. How would you respond or maybe rephrase that phrase you mentioned that people say, there's one life, go ahead and enjoy. You cannot say, oh, don't enjoy life. See, it's not the opposite necessarily. How would you respond when somebody will, let's say, mention that and you're addressing you or some, and how would you, I guess, rephrase this?
It's one life
if you
to
want
enjoy.
to.
Make it meaningful, I would say. It's one life. If it's one life, make it
Okay.
meaningful.
Beautiful.
And make it purposeful.
Beautiful.
And then gradually, somebody may say, what do you mean by meaningful? What do you mean by
Beautiful.
purposeful? And try and ask them to answer the question, what do you think, why do you think you're here? What do you think is the purpose? And some people have sufferings, and they are like, I was such a good person, my child is born with some suffering. Why? And have them think through.
Yeah, that's
and
with
reflect.
engaging into conversation, like you said,
Engage
use
into
that
conversation
opportunity to
versus
preach.
just shunning them that, oh, you're
True,
wrong.
true. But how would you say without taking the word joy out of it, to keep that joy in it,
Yeah, so I
to
think
uplift to the
Yes.
next level?
So joy is a taste. Enjoying is a taste, right? Some people enjoy spicy food, some people enjoy sweet food, right? So yes, we also enjoy life because we enjoy prasad, we enjoy kirtan. We are not we are a very happy movement. So I think we, if that is the definition of enjoyment is what we need to understand. And if that enjoyment is going to bring us suffering or is going to bring us further enjoyment.
Good. Nice. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. I had a question like, how do you ensure that you don't overthink or don't keep thinking about what's going to happen and what's going to keep happening, and just live in the present without getting overburdened by what's going to happen in the future? Like, I've always faced that problem, and chanting Krishna's name and being in their devotion, what are the things I could do to actually do better?
So even if you talk to a psychologist or a therapist, they would say, engage your mind in positive activities, right? I mean, they'll tell you go out in the sun, go walk, exercise, right? All those things create some chemical effects in your body which really help. And not to say that you should not do those things, but the mind is the hardest to control, because you could be doing all those things and you could still be worried, right? So it is like everything else. I think it's a process and it's a journey to train your mind. And like I shared, I used to worry so much about everything. And you just have to pause and ask yourself, is this helping me or is this making it worse? And I don't think you'll get the answer that the worry is helping you, because it is not. So just, I think like anything else, you have to spend more time and more attention in your chanting and your reading. And reading helps a lot with worries, I'll tell you, because for me personally, more than chanting, also reading helped. Because you read all the stories of the different, whether it is in Krishna book or whether it is in Bhagavad Gita, you read the real meaning, and then you can make a connection to your life. Like how we read this Gopi Gita verse and we said, hey, Krishna has protected gopis, but Krishna has protected us also. So reading definitely helps, because knowledge is a very important part of our being convinced that Krishna is supreme.
Any other questions? Devotees online, please unmute and ask. Okay, no more questions. So Radha Damodar Prabhu will give a quick. Thank you.
Sure. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful class as usual, very practical. And reminding us about all of us have to be grateful, and this is a great occasion for us to be grateful. Krishna has provided us all these things, and we have to go back to Krishna. And you quoted so many verses and so many things from Bhagavad Gita, Gopi Gita, so many things. So thank you all. Thank you for reminding us, and this will help us to progress further, and as you said, transform us from to go back to Krishna. Haribol. Hare
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji. Once again, a beautiful class. So devotees, we are going to rise up. We are going to do Arati now. Today the Pujari is Jai Subhadra Devi Dasi, and Sanjana will be the Arati singer. Radha Damodar Prabhu, Kamanana Prabhu, can you please come and help? You're going to sit down, right? Jishnu? Ma'am, can I give you a chair? Oh, no, I'm okay. You're good? You're good, sir? You're fine. Prem.
विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Tagora Hari Bol Nitagora Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitagora Hari Bol Nitagora Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva
Tagora Hari Bol Tagora Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हृदय ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्णा गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की नवदीप धाम की यमुना देवी गंगा देवी तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की बृहत मृदंगा की हरिनाम संकीर्तन की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Hare Krishna Temple of Austin ki.
Hare Krishna devotees, please all sit up. We are going to sing Narsinga Arati. Anjana.
Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasimhaya. हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः
नरसिंहो परतो नरसिंहा
तो नरसिंहो परतो नरसिंहो
इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा
तो नरसिंहो परतो नरसिंहो
यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा
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 बहिर्नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा
बहिर्नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा
बहिर्नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा
बहिर्नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
तव करकमलमरेणाकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां ललिता हिरण्यकशिपो तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
तव करकमलवरेणाकाम् अद्भुत दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे
केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश जय जगदीश जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश जय जगदीश जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश जय जगदीश जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंह देव 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 जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रहलाद महाराज 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 जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Radha, Nilamana Radha, Nilamana Radha, Jaya Radha, Nilmadhav Radha, Nilmadhav Radha, Jaya Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha, Jaya Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha, Jaya Radha, Kala Chandri Radha, Kala Chandri Radha, Jaya Radha, Kala Chandri Radha, Kala Chandri Radha, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह देव भगवान की, श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।